All right, we are back with a Fox News alert. The DOJ releasing Volume 1 of former special counsel Jack Smith's final report. They dropped this thing right in the middle of the night, saying Donald Trump would have been convicted in his election interference case if he did not win the election. Former federal prosecutor Andrew Cherkasky joins me now. Andrew, your initial reaction to this 137-page report literally mere hours after its release?
Well, I would call this Jack Smith's self-aggrandizing best effort to convince the public that he would have got a conviction. But I'll tell you, Todd, every case that I have seen go to trial where the defendant was acquitted, the prosecutor had started that case by saying that they believed that the case would have ended in a conviction until something went wrong. And so we have here over 100 pages of Jack Smith going over all of the details as to why he thinks he would have obtained the conviction, but it's not rebutted. This doesn't go through the due process system. The defense doesn't have their opportunity to respond to it, certainly not to call the witnesses or go through all of the legal hoops that are necessary to get to a fair and reasonable conclusion in a criminal case. So I see this as Jack Smith just putting forth more of what he has put forth in his indictments and his motions before the court, and does not change anybody's real assessment of this case. And I think that was answered when the nation voted just a few months ago.
You make so many important points, especially on the due process front, but it does need to be driven home that good luck finding me one prosecutor anywhere in the history of prosecution who doesn't think they would have won their case if they ultimately end up losing it or it is dismissed. And I think you drove home that point perfectly. In his opening letter, Jack Smith says it is, quote, laughable to think that the Biden White House influenced the prosecution of Trump. What do you say to that, Andrew?
Well, I think politics was most clearly behind this. Now, Jack Smith really took great efforts throughout the report to talk about himself and to talk about the prosecutors that he had on his team, and to call them all the most honest, the most valuable prosecutors that have ever gone through something like this. And I'm being a bit hyperbolic in that sense, but it seems as though he's being very hyperbolic in how much he is trying to credit himself as well as his team in the discretion that they seem to have had. Now, were they directly influenced by the Biden administration? Well, we don't have that specific evidence, but politics are what's at hand here. And I think that we have to look at the much bigger picture as to what the Democrat Party and what the left had said all along about their intentions with regard to Donald Trump when he was out of office after his first administration. And it was a very dedicated, lawfare effort to find some way to get something to stick with him, and that failed entirely. I call that political. I think everybody who saw this in the nation calls that political. Jack Smith wants to put himself in kind of a isolated box and say that it wasn't politics, it was just his discretion. Again,
it's important to note, like you said, this is a document where he can say whatever he wants, and he did. That doesn't make it true. Andrew Cherkasky, thank you for your time. Carly.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.